Hey everybody, this is Jerry Vasilatos reporting to you tonight on Chicago Corner. It's going to be a little bit of a different show. I am here solo tonight, although I shouldn't say I'm completely solo. I've got Oreo here with me, and he'll probably traipse onto screen any moment now, right? Of course he will. So this is the night where I invite everybody in the live chat to contribute, participate. I will make sure to put a lot of people's comments up on screen and answer your questions and hopefully bring your thoughts and concerns into the conversation as we go through tonight's stories that I am reporting and commenting on that I have not actually compiled myself. Because remember, this is just a commentary show. I'm not a journalist. There are far more people that are much better at that than I am. So we just get together on Fridays and Tuesdays here on the corner and talk about what's happened in the recent news week, and hopefully also share some other stories of inspiration that we find happening with all of you wonderful viewers who are tuning in. So I want to start tonight's show at the top. This was actually kind of breaking news, and apparently this happened last night. While most of Chicago was asleep, this is what transpired downtown. And I'm just going to run the video as it was reported from NBC Chicago, because there are a lot of concerns right now regarding safety this weekend with the Mexican Independence Day celebrations, festivals, and the Bears game. So let me bring this up on screen. Hopefully there we go. Let me play this and then I'll come out of it and read more about this particular story.
All this week, downtown Chicago has been busy as thousands celebrate Mexican Independence Day. Last night and into the early morning hours today, streets were packed with cars as revelers took to the streets to show their pride.
Oh, I think we've got a buffering problem.
Chris Hush is live along Michigan Avenue, one of the many streets that were shut down at one point for the celebration. So, Chris, how are things going now?
Right. So, Patrick, here's what you need to know. All of that gridlock, the celebrating, the crowds that we saw overnight, as of this morning, not a situation. We are along Michigan Avenue, and even throughout this city, all of that has died down, at least for now. If you were sleeping through all of it somehow, if you live downtown, it was hard to go to sleep. We're hearing all of that outside of your window. But here's what you missed. Let's show some of the celebrations from last night. Everywhere from Wacker Drive, Michigan Avenue, as I said, to Sable Lakeshore Drive. The main arteries of this city, they were packed with cars and flags and people sometimes dancing in the street as well, really taking in this special day, the day that Mexico claimed independence from Spain more than 200 years ago. Usually there is an official parade here in the city, but just like last year, it was canceled again this year due to the pandemic. Therefore, everyone that you've seen out here for the last week, they've taken it upon themselves to come out to celebrate. And it really goes to show you just how strong feelings are about this important day for so many Chicagoans.
This is our culture. We are the largest minority in the country, and we're only going to get larger. And I think that we should all be good neighbors to each other. And there's a lot of cultures here in Chicago, and we want to celebrate all of them.
Now, with all of the celebrations that we've seen throughout this last week, it is possible that could continue through this weekend. And because of that, OEMC says they are monitoring these celebrations around the clock. You'll also notice a large police presence, of course, throughout the downtown area and beyond.
So that particular report didn't... Well, what's going on here? Am I still on? Sorry, gang. Doesn't seem my mouse is working. Oh, there we go. There we go. So it wasn't covered in that particular report, but I did see some videos on social media where it did get a little bit rowdy downtown. Thankfully, it was peaceful, but wasn't really smart for people to be driving up on sidewalks and throwing out smoke bombs. And I guess it's cool. It's definitely something important to celebrate. I just hope people going into the weekend, exhibit some caution and safety in their celebrations, because the Office of Emergency Management and Communications issued a warning Thursday ahead of a busy weekend in Chicago, urging residents to stay safe and vigilant. Chicago residents can expect traffic impacts this weekend, according to officials, as a variety of events are set to take place, including the Mexican Independence Day celebrations, Riot Fest, Guns N' Roses, and Dead and Company concerts at Wrigley Field and the Chicago Bears season opener. Office of Emergency Management and Communications urged residents to stay alert and report any suspicious activity or situations to 911. Officials said they will also be monitoring events over the next several days. Possible street closures could be in effect for larger events throughout the weekend at the discretion of OEMC, officials noted, though no shutdowns were active as of Thursday evening. Due to Mexican Independence Day celebrations, residents can expect increased traffic in the Central Business District and on DuSable Lakeshore Drive this weekend, officials warned. Here are some upcoming events that could impact traffic citywide. Thursday night, actually that's past, was the Guns N' Roses concert. Tonight, let's jump to Friday. Art on the Mark fall opener on the Chicago Riverwalk at 7:30 p.m. beginning right now. Friday and Saturday, Dead and Company concert at Wrigley Field at 6:30. Saturday, Pause Chicago 5K race at Montrose Harbor. Saturday, the ALS Walk for Life event at Soldier Field with pre-walk activities beginning at 9:30 p.m. Also on Saturday, the Chicago Into and Blues music performance at Millennium Park. Saturday and Sunday, there's an art fest. And of course, Sunday, the Chicago Bears season opener against the Cincinnati Bengals at noon. So, hey, everybody, if you're going out this weekend to enjoy yourselves, celebrate Mexican independence, or just enjoy what's left of our summer weekends, please always make sure to be careful out there. So with that said, I'm going to move on to what our first story of the evening is, as I have it in the show notes. Let me bring up, well, we don't want that. We want, okay. So this is of great concern. This is kind of crazy when I came across this. Now, part of the story is a few days old, but there is an update on it. So I'm going to bring it into the stream. So what is being reported by the Chicago Sun-Times, actually September 9th, is as students have been rushed back to school, nearly 3,000 CPS students have been exposed to COVID-19 in just 8 days. Now, this was as of September 9th. Exactly how many students are in isolation is unclear, as CPS officials have not responded to requests to provide a specific number. Unvaccinated kids aren't required to isolate this school year. Just 8 days into the new year, Chicago Public Schools officials have identified nearly 3,000 students who've been exposed to COVID-19 at their schools, with at least hundreds switching to remote learning and the district facing backlash for reporting delayed and undercounted data. Exactly how many students are in isolation is unclear, as CPS officials have not responded to requests to provide a specific number. But a review of emails from individual school administrations and interviews with parents and teachers shows that across the city, scores of elementary and high school students have been forced back to online learning due to a small number of COVID cases. Quarantining has been used as an effective method to curb the spread of cases in schools, but few cases disrupting classes so early in the year represents a gut check, for Mayor Lori Lightfoot and the school district's hopes of operating a smooth school year. The first week of school, CPS reported 144 confirmed cases of COVID-19, with 2,162 people identified as close contacts. 4 schools, Englewood STEM, Taft and Shawn high schools, and Murray Elementary, each had over 100 people exposed, according to district numbers, and Taft had another case reported this week with 66 additional close contacts. In all, another 17 cases and almost 800 close contacts reported this week mean CPS has had at least 161 confirmed positive tests and 2,941 people exposed through Wednesday. Now, remember, I believe that this is the data on the kids, right? Kids don't suffer as much from the virus, but then you've also got all the older grown teachers who I'm sure the majority of are vaccinated, but this was a big concern before going into the school year, was kids being the carriers. And the fact that this many infections have spread so quickly in just 8 days is definitely certainly cause for concern and reevaluating how they're doing things. So though nearly 3,000 kids have been identified as close contacts, CPS hasn't said how many children are quarantining. Only those who are unvaccinated are required to stay home for the usual 14-day period this year. In some cases, entire classes have temporarily moved to remote learning. While officials conduct contact tracing, then some students return to school. So as it comes to contact tracing, boom. Chicago parents and principals say CPS contact tracing is horrendous. I just don't feel like it's a safe environment, said one Chicago parent whose son was exposed to a COVID case in the first week of school. This comes via Sarah Karp at WBEZ Chicago. Chicago mother Fiona Cook got a dreaded email on Saturday, September 11th, informing her that one of her sons had been exposed to COVID-19 at a Chicago public school. It was not only alarming, but also confusing and frustrating. The person who tested positive was at school on August 30th and 31st. That's 9 school days before she was notified. The letter said her son and his classmates should quarantine until September 14th. Just doesn't make any sense because they'd been in school the whole time, said Cook, who didn't want her children's Southwest Side school named because she thinks the principal is doing all she can under difficult circumstances. It makes me concerned. Cook said the problems extend beyond the school. She is a home health worker and works with immunocompromised patients. She would have taken extra precautions had she known she'd been exposed to a positive case through her son. So there you go. Kids rush back to school. Someone gets sick. They potentially bring it home. A parent who's trying to work, trying to get back to work and be responsible and, make some income to take care of their family. And as a healthcare worker, now they have to quarantine and withhold services from people that need their help as a healthcare worker. So this is the whole domino effect of just, I don't know, not thinking this through, right? So E. Heller in the live chat asks, are they using the rapid test? The FDA just recently released an article saying there is a potential for false positive results. Yeah, I did see that link you sent me earlier today, Ed. Let me get further into the article and see if that is addressed. I'm assuming they must be using rapid tests because as the kids are back in school, they can't wait days for a result when business is ongoing. The fact that some of these rapid tests are false positives is definitely, as E. Heller says, that pretty much compounds matters. We had another comment here from JR. The dangerous thing about everything is that you don't really know yet the long-term effects of the vaccinations and how this disease mutates and whether taking multiple vaccinations is effective. Yeah, that's a very good point, JR. But from what I've read, the amount of people who are vaccinated that catch Delta aren't dying. The vaccination protects them. And those who didn't get the vaccination catching these mutant strains are the ones who could have averted tragedy but chose not to because these ongoing questions about the vaccinations. Oh, is it safe? Is it not safe? If you're immunocompromised, I'm not a doctor, but from what I read, if you're immunocompromised, even when you take the vaccine, yeah, you can have some side effects. You can get headaches. You can get a little bit sick for a few days. That's the whole point of exposing you to the virus so that you build up your immunity. I haven't, to my knowledge, read any cases of people who've been vaccinated dying from Delta yet. And I could be wrong, but I did do some research the other night because I was specifically curious how many people who are vaccinated have suffered like catching Delta. And I didn't see any cases. In fact, I should have brought that up in my show research. I had intended to use that to quote from, but you're just going to have to trust me on that. It's easy to Google. Love Tagore says, I think vaccines don't work. Obviously, America is covering their asses with gain of function. No, actually, vaccines do work. Vaccines are not going to keep you from catching the virus. They're going to build up your immune system so that you can fight it. That's what a vaccination is. People who get the virus and then ask to get vaccinated, forget it. Ivermectin, nothing that they ask for or think is going to help them is going to help unless they've already built up some kind of immunity using a vaccination to begin with. This is the foundation of flu vaccines, polio vaccines, measles, mumps. You're injected with a portion of the virus, a small portion, so that your body can start fighting it. So if you're exposed to a heavier strain, you're already, have at least some protection. I know people say, well, the vaccinations aren't helping people from catching Delta. No, but those people are surviving Delta because the vaccinations help build up their immunity. I don't know how much clearer it can be, but I mean, I understand and I respect people's decisions. As we said on Tuesday's show when I was here with E. Heller, the only person you can trust is your doctor, your practitioner who you trust. That's the person you should have the conversation with. We can read all this stuff on social media. We can talk about it endlessly. Are we supposed to trust the science, the doctors, the government? Ultimately, it's a personal decision, but that personal decision is obviously also going to affect everyone else if you're carrying and you didn't get vaccinated to fight it off and you pass it along to somebody else. The vaccinations give you a little shield of protection. It's just as simple as that. Love Tagore, I'm sorry vaccines work, but this one doesn't. No, it does. I mean, how many times can I repeat it? People who've been vaccinated, who've caught the Delta wave, get a little sick, and then it helped them fight it off. So, I mean, I don't know that you're going to find anything right now that completely keeps you from catching it other than being careful and being vigilant and not running around in crowds without masks, unvaccinated. But let me get back to the article as it relates to the contact tracing in Chicago public schools. Cook is among a group of parents and teachers raising alarms about Chicago Public Schools' contact tracing program. Now in the third week of school, some parents say CPS's contact tracing is lagging woefully behind, exposing children and increasing the odds of major outbreaks. I just don't feel like it's a safe environment right now, said Maria Estrada, whose son was exposed to a positive case in the first week of school. A contact tracer called her, and when she tried to return the call, the phone just rang and rang, she said. I don't blame the school. I blame CPS for their short-sightedness, she said. I believe that if we had better planning, we would not be in this situation. In a statement, the Chicago Principals and Administrators Association said many principals have reported that students exposed to COVID-19 had attended schools for days as they waited for contact tracers to complete their work. The association called the situation horrendous and said CPS officials have understaffed the district's contact tracing department to a degree that demonstrates willful and wanton neglect. Last Wednesday, the school district publicly reported that there had been 161 confirmed cases and 2,900 close contacts identified. As of Saturday, a source close to the teachers union said the number had grown. The source said CPS told the union that there were 5,665 students and 98 staff in quarantine. That's just unacceptable. The school district did not respond to questions about how long parents are waiting to be informed about a COVID case. The Centers for Disease Control does not recommend a specific number of contact tracers for school districts of different sizes, but encourages swift activation of case management, contact tracing, and local prevention protocols. CDC guideline states, quote, because of the virus's potential to spread to large numbers of people, open and timely communication are key to intervening immediately and preventing further transmission. CPS officials does not dispute that contact tracing is lagging. They said they are trying to hire an additional 15 contact tracing team members and are diverting other staff to support the efforts. They also said in some instances people aren't responding to questions, prolonging the tracing process. We thank parents for their patience, and the district will continue to refine its contact tracing processes, increase staffing, and adapt to feedback from schools and parents in order to be as communicative and helpful as possible. A CPS statement released Monday reads. Yet Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot has not acknowledged any problems. Ooh, tone deaf Lori Lightweight. Here we go. I've heard overwhelmingly, literally everywhere that I go, thank you, Mayor Lightfoot. Thank you for opening up our schools, protecting our kids, and making sure that we've got a safe workplace, she told WBEZ on Monday when asked about complaints from parents who said they are not being informed quickly enough about positive cases. Lightfoot said complaints are coming from parents aligned with Chicago Teachers Union, which is trying to convince CPS to institute more safety measures as it continues to negotiate a fall opening agreement with the city. How nice to politicize the safety issues with the fall opening agreement. I'm shocked. CPS officials said they anticipated that contact tracing would take time and therefore are now allowing principals to switch an entire class to remote learning even before contact tracing is done. This allows for students to be isolated while the contact tracing investigation is underway. A CPS spokesperson added that some large-scale quarantine measures have been preemptive and temporary, although initially quarantined, some students have been allowed to return to school as the contact tracing investigation continued. Let me jump into the live chat here. It's kind of hard to read the article and then jump to what people are commenting, but I want to involve all of you tonight as my co-hosts, my virtual co-hosts. Let's see. Love Tagore. Good for you. You got vaccinated. That was, I think, the responsible thing to do. Thank you for being vigilant that way. Andrew Golick got vaccinated as well. I still wear a mask and socially distance. Yeah, here. It's not that hard. And if anything, it shows that you're sensitive to other people's concerns around you. I mean, it's a mask, guys. Doctors wear them all day long, and it's not affecting their oxygen intake. I hear that line of baloney a lot, too. With all the protesting against vaccines, what are these people wanting to know? Good question. Okay, JR. It's our faith in government officials, and the corruption is the biggest cause of anxiety in people taking these vaccines. I agree. This is what fuels the conspiracy theories. I mean, not all conspiracy theories are bad. Especially when we've been misled and lied to by our government on so many occasions that have later been proven. But as this spills over into the science and medical area, especially in light of the fact of how it's been politicized between parties, last year we had Kamala Harris saying that if Donald Trump told us to take the vaccine, she wouldn't take it. Now she and President Biden want to make it mandatory. And the vaccine is the one that Trump I guess spearheaded with Project Lightspeed. And I remind people, I'm no fan of Trump, but you know, for as little as he did, too little, too late, at least we did get a vaccine out that people were able to get free launching. I think it rolled out earlier this year in March, April. I remember that's when I got mine. Oh, I remember the article now that I wanted to quote from because I had put it on my Facebook page and shared it. So let me get those numbers for you guys because I think that it does add something to the conversation we're having about people's concerns, you know, with the dangers of the vaccination as they think they might be out there as a result of the government having been behind rolling this thing out. All right, let me go to my page here. Give me a moment here. If we can all just take a moment. I have to navigate to my Facebook profile because I think I posted this the other night to share with my friends. And I do have a quote there also that I can take right out of the article before opening it up. So bear with me. Facebook is like watching paint dry tonight to get that article up. Oh, come on. Okay, here we go. So let me scroll down really quickly and find that article for y'all. And I'll continue to monitor the chat here. New comments. Gamer for life. I'm pro-vaccine, but I'm against the mandates, though. Yeah, I mean, it is ultimately a personal decision. We do understand that. Okay, scrolling down. Let me see if I can get to this article. Okay, so here's what I posted. And I'll even bring the link up, put on screen here. Let me click through, copy the link. Now, this came to us from BBC News. I'm going to paste the link here, and I'll read you what I had specifically isolated in the article when I was curious about this. Out of more than 51,000 COVID deaths in England between January and July of 2021, only 256 occurred after 2 doses of the vaccine. They were mostly people at very high risk from illness from COVID-19, and these are the autoimmune compromised. The figures show that the high degree of protection from the vaccines against illness and death, the ONS said. So let me go through the article here. Maybe I can quote a little bit from it, and then we can move on to the next story. But, as it relates to the contact tracing in Chicago schools, I thought it was kind of relevant. So fully vaccinated people are much less likely to die from COVID-19 than those who aren't or have had only one dose, figures from the Office for National Statistics, ONS, show. The figures show a high degree of protection from vaccines against illness and death. Some deaths after vaccination were always expected because vaccines are not 100% effective, and it takes a couple of weeks after your second dose to build the fullest protection. Of the 51,281 deaths involving COVID registered in England between 2nd of January and July 2nd of 2021, 600. Okay, so I was wrong. I did not remember this correctly, although the numbers were low, which is probably why I mistakenly remembered it the wrong way. Because what jumped out at me was how low the numbers were in light of how many lives are being saved. 640, which is 1.2%, were people who had received both vaccine doses. This total includes people who had been infected before they were vaccinated. That's another major component. Some 458 deaths, 0.8%, were people who died at least 21 days after their second dose. Just 256 deaths were people who were both fully vaccinated and who had their first positive PCR test at least 14 days after their second dose. Breakthrough deaths occurring at least 2 weeks after the second jab, along with the first positive PCR COVID test, tend to happen in the most vulnerable, men and those with weakened immune systems, with the average age being 84. So this speaks again to the fact that this was, our most vulnerable were our senior populations, as we saw when this thing started. God, last February, I still remember the horrific images that came out of Italy, where they have, huge elderly populations in these villages, which was the main concern, to get people vaccinated so our senior population isn't struck first and worst. Go back to our live chat here. Let's see. Arturo Medina, my good friend Art. This is the 21st century. Can we please trust the science because the science works? It's saving lives, everybody. I don't want to dwell on it too much because we've got more stories to go into, but the whole contact tracing issue as it relates to Chicago public schools and kids getting sick and then kids going home and spreading it to their parents who are working and might be healthcare workers. Oh, my light went out. What happened here? Get it back on again. All right, so I'm in the dark here. Let me see. Sometimes this happens with my connectors. Am I back? All right. Well, maybe the light will go on, or maybe I'll just have to rely on light from the computer screen. But yeah, since it's Friday, oh, there we go. Oh, bright. Since it's Friday night and we're on the corner, right? We're going to be really informal tonight. This is how I got to take my news stories. Get some Jack out. Fill my Chicago Corner mug. Just a quarter way up. There we go. And of course, what makes it even more delicious? They're not a sponsor, but Coca-Cola. So let me get my drink ready. And I hope all of you out there are enjoying some libations this evening as we talk about this week's stories. And in a moment, I will lift a cup to you, Chicago. Cheers, everybody, before we go to the next story. I needed that. All right. So moving on from the horrors of the dystopian pandemic we're living through right now, I found a very interesting story because I know so many Chicagoans are burdened with insanely increasing property tax hikes. And we've talked about it here on the show before. We're disappointed in progressive Cook County Assessor Fritz Kagi, who ran on a promise of reform and hopefully bringing people's property taxes down. And suddenly people are getting crazy property tax bills. And we're like, what the fuck? I'm going to say it. What's going on, Fritz? What's the deal? So he was invited to provide an essay on what he sees as the reason behind our rising property taxes. And I got to say, it actually makes a lot of sense. It's a bit lengthy, but I do want to share it with you all because he makes some very, very strong points in regards to the digital economy. What is the digital economy? The digital economy is Amazon. It's everybody buying things online. It's the disappearance of brick and mortar stores from our neighborhoods because we are relying on a digital economy. When you eliminate the brick and mortar stores from the neighborhoods, that's a source of tax revenue that is no longer there. Therefore, the burden on paying for our services is more often falling on residents as opposed to businesses in the neighborhoods. And there's also some good points to be made in this article about the segregated nature of our city. So let me just jump into the article, the essay that was penned by our Cook County Assessor, Fritz Kagi. And it's going to go a little bit. I'm going to be reading a lot, but bear with me. I think that it makes some very good points as we discuss or try to figure out solutions for the burdensome property taxes that everyone in Chicago seems to be suffering now. So about this essay, the Chicago Council on Global Affairs is an independent, nonpartisan organization that provides insights on critical global issues, advances policy solutions, and fosters dialogue about what is happening in the world and why it matters to people in Chicago, the United States, and around the globe. The council asked Assessor Fritz Kagi to submit an essay to its recent collection, Reclaiming the Right to the City, wherein a diverse set of experts examine the question of rights in and to the city in a wide and exciting array of geographies and contexts. They highlight powerful inequities and contradictions in city life and also offer policy solutions. So here we go. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm getting tired of bitching about these things. And when I read this essay, I thought, well, he does offer some solutions. Now we have to see how to get them into action. So here's what Cook County Assessor Kagi has to share with us. Cities around the world are evolving as digital technology and the global pandemic alter the urban economy. But how can the funding sources for city services like education evolve with them? Without a 21st century system of property taxation that supports equitable funding for all, cities are likely to generate pockets of de facto segregation along racial and economic lines. Giving everyone the right to the city for all requires revenue model innovations that match the leaps and bounds we're making in technology. With the global economy reaching into even the smallest of towns, we must look beyond the traditional borders of local governance to lift all as cities undergo economic transformations. The funding tools available to cities are even more ill-suited to fair taxation. In the United States, the fiscal mechanisms for schools, municipalities, and other units of local government lean heavily on taxing property, more than half of local revenues if state and federal aid is excluded. Illinois has the third highest number of school systems in the nation, behind California and Texas, and the majority of public education funding in the state, 63%, is derived from property taxes. Funding for education relies on real property, yet this spatially rooted tax base is under threat as economic activity becomes increasingly digital, with no fixed location and much less dependence on brick and mortar assets. Now, remember, when everybody is relying on, digital assets, ordering from Amazon, and there's no store that you're going into and paying a sales tax, or no business that's paying some taxes in your neighborhood, Amazon doesn't pay taxes. Boom. How are things in the neighborhood covered then? From our property taxes. In 1990, information technology companies and direct retailers accounted for only 4% of the market capitalization of the S&P 500 index, a widely accepted proxy for the U.S. stock market. In 2021, these companies account for 32% of the index. Moreover, the 5 largest companies in this sector, and you all know who they are, Apple, Microsoft, Alphabet, Google, Amazon, and Facebook now account for 20% of the earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation of all the companies in the index, according to data from Bloomberg. This is why we're screaming, tax the rich. The global pandemic greatly accelerated this trend as office workers moved to Zoom, retail sales shifted to Amazon and Grubhub, and families decamped to more remote locations. Why brick and mortar taxation hurts equity. Tethering the funding of local services to brick and mortar assets is troubling from the point of view of equity, and the question of who has the right to the city, because the digital portion of the economy is not similarly taxed. And I think we're all aware of that this has been an ongoing conversation. Without additional revenue sources, communities will have to sustain themselves on the taxes derived from the value of local property. Essential services decline, new potential residents look elsewhere, job opportunities fall off, and an already declining tax base suffers further. Freedom of movement will only be possible for those who already enjoy economic prosperity. Make no mistake, small businesses and brick-and-mortar spaces are still at the heart of community vitality and sustainability and will continue to be important. They give communities and cities their distinctive character and special sense of place, not to mention employment. But why should capital invested in these city-sustaining activities be required to cover so much of the cost of local services while the growing share of the digital economy gets a pass? Good question. Using property taxes to fund services such as education can also reinforce segregation and unequal outcomes. And isn't this what we're seeing? Because tax revenues vary from one district to another based on the size and prosperity of the local real estate tax base. For example, communities in Illinois with more affluent property owners and an abundance of business can afford to spend more per pupil on education, while communities with fewer resources struggle. This system not only reinforces segregation and existing disparities, but also further widens the wealth gap. Illinois ranks last in the United States for state sharing of revenues with school districts. As a result, property taxes are generally high, largely to fill this gap. The lower value of real estate in a community, the higher the effective rate to provide a comparable level of school services. This results in great disparities. Pretty simple, actually, when you break it down and think about it that way. Who is hurt the most by high property tax rates? In his jurisdiction of Cook County, for example, the communities with the 20 highest property tax rates exceed the other 110 communities by 3 to 5 times, even though the level of education funding per pupil is comparable or less. And he does have a chart that he added. Let me bring this up. To get to this portion of the article. Most of these communities are majority Black, while most of the other Cook County communities are majority white. For communities at the top end of rates, taxes exceed 5% of home values versus the effective average in Chicago of under 2%. In the assessment universe, this is called regressivity, when property owners with more modest homes and businesses have to pay more of their share than more affluent property owners. And this is what we're seeing in this crazy property tax hike that everybody is suddenly wondering about as they're getting their assessments these past couple months. First, for $1 invested in housing, higher property tax rates can overwhelm the beneficial effect of compound growth in asset prices, much like a ruinously high management fee on a mutual fund versus the low fee of an index fund. This puts a lid on prices and can in fact push them down, depressing intergenerational wealth. Second, less wealthy individuals and minorities tend to have more of their wealth invested in homes that are burdened by high taxes, while wealthier households have more of their savings invested in financial and business assets that are not subject to similarly heavily annual taxation. Helps relieve the pain I feel in my head when I read that. According to the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank, in 2021, the bottom half of U.S. households by wealth had about 50% of their wealth invested in real estate, while the top 10% of households by wealth had just 19% of their wealth in real estate. Black and Latino Americans also had more of their wealth invested in their homes than other racial groups. In the United States, home ownership has been one of the fastest ways to build wealth because families can leverage it through mortgage debt. This is even more important for Black families who possess about 1/10 of the wealth of whites and who typically hold the majority of their wealth in their homes. Property taxes can eat away at the appreciation of these assets, which slows wealth creation or worse, subtracts from it, leaving these families further behind and potentially underwater on their mortgages. By mapping this web of taxation policies and practices onto physical space, one can see how these structural rate disparities exacerbate inequality. They serve as a hidden roadmap guiding investment, property values, and resources for education and other services across neighborhoods. And by the way, everybody, if you want, this is linked in the show notes below. So if you also want to look at this article and follow along or just, reference it for later, we do have the link to Cook County Assessor Kagi's essay in the notes below. Capital that can be invested in real estate converges towards areas with the lowest real estate taxes unless the capital can earn a compensating additional return in areas where effective property tax rates are higher. The main mechanism for providing the compensating additional return is lower real estate prices, which further shrink the local tax base. So let me skip ahead though, because we know what the problem is. Let's get to where is it? Solutions. Okay. Local solutions for a more equitable tax system. While my office does not have jurisdiction over municipal tax levies, I can say that increased federal and state support for school funding will help reduce the tax burden paid by homeowners and local mom and pop businesses, while also reducing racial disparities in schools and community services. As noted, Illinois provides the lowest level of funding for education of any state in the nation. An increase in federal school funding through Title I of the 1965 Elementary and Secondary Education Act is the most direct way to decrease property taxes and geographic inequality while investing in education. If we doubled the current $300 million in Title I funding for Chicago's public schools and passed on the savings to ratepayers, the property tax levy for schools would be reduced by 10%. And this is Title I at the U.S. Department of Education. That's linked in the show notes also if you want to take a look at it. Going back to the article or the essay. We must reimagine and reprioritize how we fund education by increasing federal support. This is not a new or radical concept. It was so important to civil rights and labor leader A. Philip Randolph that he included it in his speech at the March on Washington in 1963. Saying we want integrated public schools, but that means we also want federal aid to education, all forms of education. If we agree that everyone has a right to the city and that dismantling inequality is imperative, we must continue to push for local school funding that is not rooted in local land values, especially as more business moves online, so that everyone has access to quality housing and vibrant communities without disproportionately burdening the property owners we seek to help. I know I've been rambling on here. Let me go to the live chat here and get some of your comments. Okay, so JR has a good point here. Are we benefiting from the few dollars we save buying things online, or are we spending more paying taxes from those few dollars saved online? Good thinking. Yeah, I mean, obviously during the pandemic, so many of us had to rely more on digital services because we had to isolate and quarantine. But we're now, God, you know what? Maybe that is the whole cause and effect this past year. Everything being shut down last year. Everybody relying on the digital economy, which I would assume probably impacted the collection of taxes from local brick and mortar stores. And maybe this is what contributed to the jump this year. Let's see here. E. Heller, we talked about this. A 32% assessment increase in 1 year is ridiculous. Hey, man, I no argument from me. Love Tagore. You think? Yeah, something fucky is going on here. Let me resume into Cook County Assessor Kagi's article here after I move my Jack Daniels bottle. Let's see here. We should tell. Furthermore, as digital technology and the pandemic further uncouple economic activity from physical property, taxation that focuses on the income generated rather than the assets that can generate it becomes even more vital, especially for cities. In the status quo, taxation favors income generated from asset-light strategies while heaping most of the costs of local services on the shrinking share of economic activity generated by those who own and invest in physical assets. The more digital an economy gets, the more unfair the distribution of costs becomes if property tax is a principal source of revenues. Taxing income generated, regardless of how physical assets are employed in generating the income, more fairly distributes the costs of investing in education and government services and does not discriminate against the kind of commercial and residential activities that make cities thrive. Once we understand this principle, the next question becomes, who is best placed to tax income? One characteristic of the digital economy is that it may be difficult or impossible to attribute a physical presence to the various participants in the economic activity, Moreover, doing so may introduce incentives to shift profits to areas where income evades taxation. This is especially true when viewed from the perspective of a city where activity can cross boundaries easily and even painlessly. How states and the federal government can help. What about state and provincial support? A state or province may have drastically different interests or incentives vis-a-vis the city and may not want to put taxation of income on an equal footing statewide and at a level sufficient for cities to fund education and government services. Moreover, just as transfer pricing strategies can shift incomes and profits away from cities to places where they are not taxed, this dynamic also prevails between states and provinces. Depending on state or provincial support, may further inequities by punishing residents of cities where states or provinces are hostile to them. As economies become more digital, it will become increasingly clear that cities and states cannot solve these problems alone. The nation, which means the federal government in the United States, is best situated to tax incomes generated by activity like digital commerce, virtual meetings, and footloose service providers. Nations will need to build fiscal mechanisms for a digital world that separates economic activity from physical space. Nations should likewise feel the pressure increase their co-investment with cities and wealth and equity building activities like education, which after all prepares the nation's people for citizenship and economic competitiveness in a digital globalizing economy. In the United States, Title I provides a ready mechanism to do so. After many years of stasis and funding, Title I has come back into focus with the Biden administration's commitment to significantly step up this funding. Though it is fair and desirable for the nation to use the fiscal tools uniquely at its disposal to invest in education and certain other local services that benefit the nation as a whole, the next challenge for the city will be negotiating autonomy. Because remember, those federal funds don't come without strings attached, as we saw with the story Laney reported on, I think it was last week with Head Start. I think it was Head Start. One of the programs that we rely on funding for from the federal government is going to end in September because apparently we didn't meet some benchmarks. So there are strings attached with the federal funding. If education and other areas get more support from the national government, more strings may be attached, perhaps in the form of required curricula or standardized testing. National authorities' policy goals may be at odds with the attitudes and goals of those in the city. The number and nature of attached strings will spark debates about topics that previously took place at a local level. Coming to the home stretch. As the saying goes, the best government is the one closest to the people. This principle has been inconsistently applied in the United States. It is arguably more honored in the breach than in the observance, but advocates for cities may find themselves making just this argument, especially in huge, diverse countries such as the United States. If a digital economy puts more of an emphasis on national fiscal mechanisms, cities around the world will face new challenges in negotiating autonomy vis-a-vis national governments. The debate over who owns the city will be coming to national political conversations around the world. So I learned something from reading his essay about what's contributing to, I mean, it's not the only thing that's contributing to the inflated property tax assessments, but it does give a better understanding of how the digital economy is impacting the reduction of taxes collected in our neighborhoods, while the digital economy is not paying its fair share to go towards funding for our schools and other services that the city provides. So going back to the live chat, let's see here. Oh, Love Tagoria, I left your comment up really long. Let me get that one off. God, a lot of comments over here. So why do they want us poor? Yeah, well, that's the class warfare we're dealing with right now. Property taxes was why my parents moved out of Illinois for retirement, says Andrew Golick. Love Tagore, nobody can afford a family nowadays. We aren't asking for intergenerational wealth. We want a home. Yeah. And might I also add, we covered an event that Jamal Green presented 3-4 weeks ago with his My Turn to Own initiative, which is designed to help people with these challenges get into a non-predatory mortgage, understand their credit reports, know how to fix their credit if they're looking for manageable home mortgages. So go into the show archives. You can find the presentation. We covered the entire event to give everybody as detailed an explanation about what his initiative is about. Andrew Golick, I'd like a house. Been stuck with an apartment since I moved out from my parents' place. Yeah, it's a different time, Andrew. You know, the middle class now between compared with our parents' middle class, and I have this debate with my parents all the time as we're talking about financial issues in the world and health. Sometimes older generations don't realize how much has changed because they didn't have to deal with it. Because they don't have to deal with what the rest of us are, or what younger people are dealing with, they don't realize it's there and it's impacting a person's ability. You know, okay, low minimum wage, you don't have any opportunity to like make more money, you're burdened with student loans, and I'll guarantee you people in previous generations were not burdened with the insane student loans that kids are burdened with today, that you're carrying around for the rest of your life, which is what's keeping you in an apartment and unable to buy a home and raise a family like previous generations. I thought that was the American dream. The American dream has become an American nightmare as far as our oligarchs and ruling class keep things controlled. Oh, my light went out again. I don't know what's up with this thing. It's got a mind of its own, or maybe it's haunted. I don't know. Love Tagore, agreed, a little backyard, grow some veggies, sit down on the porch and play guitar. A toast to that. Reef Breland, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. The thing with digital services is the access to more products without the middleman of a brick and mortar that has limited space and the selection. This is true. I will admit, I like to go to the store and buy things, but when I don't find what I want at the store, I'm certainly not going to drive all over town to look for it. When a lot of specialty stores have shut down, where do you go? Amazon or the internet? That said, that complicates the problem. Is that keep in mind though that there are so many specialty stores and brick and mortar stores not keeping stock with everything that you might need to find because they can't spend as much money stocking as much as the online suppliers. So I do think it's a vicious cycle. Let's see here. Looking at the live chat. Yeah, bookstores, Gamer for Life. Boy, do I miss bookstores. Boy, do I miss like record stores where you can go in and look through all the CDs and all the DVDs, or, you know, now Blu-rays, although I don't know of any stores that would stock Blu-rays. Maybe Best Buy, maybe Walmart. It's such a handful of selections. I used to love going to Tower Records here in Chicago. I built my Laserdisc collection at that store when they were open many, many years ago, back in the 90s. And whether it was a bookstore or a media store, CD or movies, there was it's like going to the library. You know, you might discover something you didn't realize you'd find if you weren't looking for it. So, all right, let me go into our next story tonight, because I found that this was, you know, as much as we complain about our aldermen, and no doubt there is a lot to complain about, here was something that I thought was, where is it? Bringing it up here. Give me a moment, guys. I'll pop it up on my browser here so I can read while also bringing it up on screen. This was encouraging and surprising, shocking and surprising, but in a good way. How about that? Hear the one about the Chicago politicians saying no to some extra cash. No joke. 5 in the city council reject salary boost. And of course, progressives, God bless them. The 5 taking a pass on the raise are a mix of North, Northwest, and South Side council members, all in their first or second term. Raymond Lopez of the 15th, Silvana Tabares of the 23rd, Felix Cardona of the 31st, Gilbert Villegas of the 36th, and Matt Martin. I think actually, no, Byron. So I also found this on social media. Byron Sigjo Lopez also, as I understood it, turned down the pay raise. But let me read from the article. I don't know why he's not identified in the Sun-Times article that I've got up here. But anyway, let me get into the article. This comes from the Chicago Sun-Times, reporting by Rachel Hinton. 5 alderpersons are rejecting a 5.5% cost of living raise they have coming to them next year, but the majority of the members of city council will see bumps in their salaries in a few months. The 5 taking a pass on the raise are a mix of North, Northwest, and Southwest Side council members, all in their first or second term. Southwest Side alderpersons Raymond Lopez,
Oh, hello, everybody. It looks like Jerry's having some electricity issues right now because we've got some storms going on in the city.
Oh, hello, everybody. It looks like
So I'm just going to hit the mute button on my stream here just so I don't get an echo here. Jerry will be back momentarily. And I think he's working on...
I have returned!
Getting restored. Oh, wait, he's back! He's working on... I have returned! Restored. Oh.
Nothing can stop me. Let me switch this around.
I was trying to fill, but I wasn't really sure what while we had you on off in the Stormville over there.
Yeah, well, it seems like it's kind of a light summer storm, but then suddenly everything went out. As I looked out the window, the street lamps were out also, so we definitely had a brownout. But what ended up happening was it meant my Wi-Fi had to recycle and my hard connection to the computer. So, but I'm back. And I apologize for the interruption. our light summer storms are,
Yeah, I'm actually impressed that the stream kept rolling though. It was dark for a few minutes, but it's still going.
I think what happens is that the stream. And by the way, welcome, Ed.
Thank you.
I'm glad you could join me. I was like a little bit nervous about going on by myself tonight, but I know you guys have been busy getting the station going. I'm like, I'm not going to bug anybody. I'll just go on solo. But I appreciate you.
I had chores I was running today, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it on. And I was like, "Oh, Jerry, you'll be fine with the people in the chat, and they're going to be ranting about the property taxes being too high and all that other stuff. So you should be fine."
But I wasn't ranting though. Did you see the story? As you were following it? Actually, I thought it was a pretty fair assessment of what's going on. Can you move just a little bit more to the center because I want to have us both up?
Yeah, let me see.
There we go. Yeah. Then we're centered better.
Oh, wait, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Oh, here. Okay. Yes. I'm just turning my monitor so I got the camera on me now.
Love Tagore says that I messed up their groove. I'm so sorry, but blame Mother Nature. What can we do?
I mean, Kagi went, in that article, went out of his way to explain, why. Like he's like, well, we're not getting. It sounded like basically he's saying, well, we're not getting money from all the usual places from property taxes, so we have to jack it up on everybody else who's still paying. Even though we have TIF funds and there are other sources of money, but ultimately it drops on us. I just wonder what kind of a vice he's in, or as far as where money could come from, but it's not, that it's then being tossed onto the rest of us and burdening everyone else. Yeah, I don't know. I had a few suggestions in the chat. I don't know if I could scroll back to find them, but I had a few potential solutions to make up for the money that we're not doing here. Let's see. Well, yeah, let's go back because I think that although we moved into another, let me finish up the story about the Alderman really quickly. Though. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, because I think that this, as I said, it's inspirational in seeing those that did decide to forego the raise that and Sigjo Lopez especially. I was very impressed with his statement, but let me finish the article. So Lopez, Cardona, and Martin will continue to make $122,304 in 2022, while Villegas will make $115,560, and Tabarras' salary will remain at $123,504. City budget officials did not immediately respond to questions about why the salaries differ. Martin, first elected to the North Side 47th Ward 2 years ago, said not taking the adjustment was a personal decision. With the pandemic presenting the sort of financial challenges that it has to so many folks within and outside of government, what is typically something that is a very minor issue, if a non-issue, has additional significance. Here. I mean, who thought that there would be that kind of integrity coming from some of our? Well, no, I'm being. There are a handful of decent city council members, and we're seeing that now, which is very, very, like I said, surprisingly happily encouraging. Yeah, I did think it was kind of odd that we didn't really see any members of the DSA listed in the story, right? I'm wondering if they left them out, or maybe some of them are like, well, look, I'm hurting, I need the raise. I mean, everybody's got their own situation going on, but Byron wasn't listed in there, and he was he's not accepting the raise. He released a statement though. Let me actually read from what his statement said here. Actually, I'm gonna have to open it on my other screen. I'm juggling between two monitors here, everybody. So please. Once again, I don't have an engineer like the guys at the regular station do with Faze, who does a great job, so I'm just jumping around here. All right, so here we go. So this was a statement by Byron Sigjo Lopez, and I'm going to also bring it up there. The following is a statement from Chicago City Council Alderman Byron Sigjo Lopez of the 25th. As promised, yesterday, I submitted a request to the city clerk's office to lower my salary and use that money from my salary to pay my staff. The pay raise approved this week by City Council will go as follows. My salary will be reduced to $114,000. Two staff members' salaries will be raised from $45,000 range to the $60,000 range. Nice.
City council offices are one of the few city offices where public servants, including the alderperson, are directly accountable to the voters of Chicago. In order to retain the best public servants for the residents of the 25th Ward, I'm committed to ensure every working person has a dignified salary, and that includes the workers providing direct city services for ward residents. I believe in investing in people and fair wages. Constituent services is the most important part of my team and the work we do in the 25th Ward. From housing the homeless during this past winter, to supporting property tax appeals work, to addressing parking and sanitation issues, my team is always ready to serve the people of our ward, and it's important that they are paid a fair wage to do so. Detailed salary plan available upon request. Now, how about that? After all the bullshit we've had to endure with this piece of shit, Jim Gardner, as I like to preface describing him, because that's what he is, a piece of shit. And I hope that the feds investigate him and charge him and throw his ass in jail for violating so many of not only the ethics, but the actual laws that are supposed to, that our older people are supposed to follow to provide, fair and equitable city service, not just serve themselves. Here is Alderman Siccho Lopez. This is an example of what we would like all of our city alder people to behave like. I mean, this is a man with ethics. He's honor, integrity. I raise a toast to Alderman Byro Siccho Lopez, who's been on the show in the past. And
I'll do that too.
Yeah, let's do a toast. Let's click our glasses. There we go.
Blink.
Alderman Siccho Lopez has been on in the past. Kit interviewed him at a live remote, not a live remote, but a remote field segment we did last year. And I think he'd come on a few times and talked with our previous show host, Ali Alexandra. So I know we have a contact with him. I think that I'm going to see how I can reach out to him and talk about an issue that he's directly involved in to provide some decent insight, because he's a good guy. Bottom line, he's just a good, ethical, honorable man. And I really appreciate that, because, man, how do I shake off the cynicism I'm always dealing with when we're doing these shows, right?
Well, this is how you find the diamond in the rough, or the needle in the haystack, or we could go on with these metaphors.
Exactly. So that was his statement. And as we come to the end of the article here, okay. So here's let me go back to Martin's quote. When I look at my own situation and reflect on the many challenges that my ward and my city have faced, I feel that it's the best personal decision for me to forego this year's cost of living adjustment, Martin said. Now, Alderman George Cardenas of the 12th initially seemed to be rejecting the $6,734 raise, but changed his mind. He'll see his salary go from $123,504 to $130,238. Cardenas said that was a misunderstanding brought on by someone on his staff preparing the wrong document and returning it to city officials. I'm taking the raise, Cardenas said. It's not about the money. The Consumer Price Index takes care of that. I'm applying for a job that pays $30,000 less than what I would be making, so it isn't about the money. Well, then go get that other fucking $30,000 job that pays you more. Okay, get out. If you don't want to serve the public honorably, this is not supposed to be a job. This is what we call public service. Yeah, it's not supposed to be a career. Get the F. It's the look what's talking. Sorry. I'm getting a little bit rowdy over here.
Daniels is kicking in.
Cardenas, who is running for a seat on the Cook County Board of Review, that's his next step up. And 29 others will see their salaries bumped to $130,238. That includes alderpersons Carrie Austin. I think she went under investigation too. She was the one who I think the feds, and Patrick Daly. Let's not forget the rotten apple that fell from the Daly tree. Patrick Daly Thompson of the 11th, both of whom are under federal indictment but have entered not guilty.
We really should start keeping like a little whiteboard or something with all the aldermans, and then with little check boxes for every type of indictment or other type of corruption that they're doing. And just go check. And then we go down every week or two and check the list and see who still doesn't have any check marks on there. And we'll go, okay, those are the ones we keep.
I think there's a bingo game in that.
Yeah, definitely.
We have to create a bingo card game.
Yeah, there is somebody on Twitter was putting a city council bingo thing out there. I know the Chicago Bar's Twitter account has been reposting his. I don't know if he's making them. But yeah, they have things that they do in every city council meeting, and or at least things that they're anticipating are going to be brought up, like subjects or things that will be said, or, aldermen doing things that they either have a habit of doing or are expected to do, and they take up each square in one of the bingo cards.
I think we should
dig up one of those.
We should also figure out how to associate a drinking game to it every time you see something.
Oh my God, that would be dangerous.
Totally. So Thompson, a nephew of one former Chicago mayor and a grandson of another, was charged in April with making false statements and filing a false income tax return. By the way, everybody, we got a lot more stories, and being that it's a little rainy Chicago night, I don't mind going long tonight if you don't mind sticking with me, Ed. I mean, we got a couple more stories, but I'm kind of like enjoying the vibe of just taking our time and talking and sharing some of this stuff. So I know we're past an hour. But
I may have to duck out with the cam from time to time, but yeah, I'll be watching the stream the whole time, and I jump in if you want me to jump in.
Yeah, I'm guessing we'll go at least till for another. Let's see, our show's been an hour and 11 minutes. I'm assuming we'll finish at about an hour and 30, maybe an hour and 40 with the other stories I want to quickly cover. So the far south side alder. Oh, the third sitting. Oh, okay, so let's talk about the Chicago Hall of Shame. All the alder people who are making sure they're going to take this raise, because all the graft that lined their pockets just wasn't enough. The second most senior member of the council, Austin, is accused of taking bribes in the form of home improvements, including new kitchen cabinets and granite countertops from a developer who sought her help in getting a project through City Hall. The far south side alderperson is also accused of lying to FBI agents who sought to question her about the perks. And let's not forget the granddaddy of them all, the third sitting alderman under federal indictment, Alderman Ed Burke, who I can't believe is allowed to serve with the mountain of criminal activity that they're looking into regarding him.
I can't believe he got reelected. I don't know how does that happen when you're under federal indictment.
I think because people were happy that the snowplows in his neighborhoods got out in time.
Well, yeah. I mean,
that's something I read.
That's definitely part of it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's what it comes down to. They don't care about the graph so long as the streets are plowed quickly. He will see a bump in his salary from $114,192 to $120,406. Now, let's not forget, he's like probably a millionaire lawyer also, right? It's not like he's relying on his salary to use his position of influence to completely abuse his position to help out his cronies, according to figures from the city. Burke, whose 52-year tenure makes him the longest-serving alderperson, was charged with racketeering in a 59-page indictment in 2019, but has also pleaded not guilty. Alderman Jim Gardner of the 45th, noted Harry Potter villain, and alderman of the 45th, Jim Gardner, because he looks like Voldemort.
Voldemort. I have to put a placeholder in here because I have to go refill my beverage.
Okay, all right.
So I'll
stand by.
I'm right here, but we'll keep
Mr. Bacon online there.
We'll keep him in there as long as he can stay vertical, or maybe not. Hello,
Mr. Bacon.
Okay, hang on a sec. All right.
I'm going to continue.
I'm just going to have him hanging from my thing there, and I'll be right back.
Okay. So Alderman Jim Gardner, who apologized on the council floor Tuesday for offensive text, he's another one who's going to probably have the federal hammer drop on his head for abusing his position. Will also make $130,238 in the new year, up from $123,504. Also taking the increase is Alderman Nick. You know what? I'm not going to read about these assholes who took the increase. Let's just be thankful that there were 5-6 aldermen who didn't take the increase for reasons of principle, including Alderman Byro Sigjo Lopez. And I'm just going to be thankful that they help. They help give us some hope in our dirty, corrupt Chicago / Gotham City Council. All right. Let me move on here, and I'll bring Ed back up when he's back on camera. So, going to our next story. Where are we here? Okay. So, actually, Ed. Oh. Okay. So I've got a video for our next story. So I'm going to bring this up, and we'll watch the video, which helps kind of roll us into what we're going to talk about next. So let's bring this up and play.
Here's what happened. I was at City Hall working on a follow-up to the investigations I've done on the Q.
By the way, you know, it's my favorite topic, Ed. What is it going to be about?
Lori Lightfoot? No.
Oh, traffic cameras.
Oh, those things.
The bane of our existence. Here we go.
Surge in speeding tickets ever since the city dropped the threshold from over 10 miles an hour to just 6. All of a sudden, upstairs in city council chambers, fireworks as one alderman threw a curveball.
This has nothing to do with safety. This has everything to do with revenue, and revenue. And our people are struggling. They're trying to make ends meet. And I think we need to give our people a little bit of relief by taking forward back to where it was.
That's Alderman Anthony Beale trying to force a vote to repeal the ordinance. I've shown you the cost to drivers.
CBS 2 pulled the data for 5.5 weeks before the March change and 5.5 weeks after. Before, there were 257 tickets. After, that number skyrocketed.
And we have another buffering issue. Anyway, you get the idea. So I just had to refill my cup here. Let me stop the video, bring us both up. I had to raise a cup to Alderman Beale, who did stand up to Lori Lightfoot to see if he could get that increase or that reduction in the speed camera thresholds reduced. But of course, you know, relying on income from speed cameras to fill their budget gaps, Lightfoot and an overwhelming majority of aldermen on Tuesday turned aside Alderman Anthony Beale's effort to repeal a lower threshold for speed camera tickets that went into effect earlier this year, resulting in a massive surge in tickets for drivers. I haven't read any updates from Dorothy Tucker yet as far as whether or not the city has refunded all the tickets that were not properly issued, because the sign said from, I think, 6:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. instead of 9:30 p.m. and they issued the tickets anyway.
Or it was like 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. or something.
Yeah. You know, they're supposed to follow the letter of the law. You're supposed to follow the signs. I know that last time Dorothy reported on this story, I don't think any refunds had been issued yet, but we'll keep track of that. But on March 1st, the city's network of speed cameras began issuing $35 tickets to drivers caught going 6 miles to 9 miles per hour over the limit. Previously, only drivers caught going at least 10 miles per hour over the limit were being ticketed. Just weeks after the new lower threshold went into effect, Beale introduced a proposal to end the ticketing of drivers going 6 miles per hour to 9 miles per hour over the limit, and to resume ticketing only drivers exceeding the speed limit by 10 miles per hour or more. Those caught exceeding the speed limit by 10 miles per hour would still receive $35 tickets, and those going 11 miles per hour or more over the limit would get $100 tickets. However, his plan, Alderman Beale, never got a hearing in committee, and on Tuesday, the alderman tried to use a parliamentary maneuver to force a vote by the full city council. However, after Alderman Brendan Riley of the 42nd noted that Beale hadn't filed his motion with the city clerk's office at least 5 business days before Tuesday's meeting, as required by city council rules, Lightfoot ruled Beale's motion out of order, and when Beale appealed, the city council voted 35-9 to uphold the mayor's ruling. Hey, 9 people in city council looking out for us, but of course it's not.
That's not enough.
No, it's not. It's not. It's unacceptable. Beale said that the surge in tickets is proof that the decision to lower the threshold for citations was about bringing in more money for the city, not about improving safety on the streets. And we've been screaming, I've been screaming about that every time we talk about this. We were told during the budget process that the speed light camera was a safety issue, but I bring before you today that there were 150 fatalities, and that is entirely too many. But only one was around a speed light camera, he said. This has nothing to do with safety. This has everything to do with revenue, and revenue. Before the mayor blocked his call for a vote on repealing the lower threshold for speed camera tickets, Beale urged his colleagues to support his proposal, saying ease the burden on drivers, especially poor people who can least afford the fines. And let me mention, those speed cameras are primarily in neighborhoods of people of color along the south and the west sides. We have them up north here too. But when you look at the map of where all these traffic cameras are, they are predominantly in struggling neighborhoods. Quote, I think it is something that our communities are asking for. It has been reported on over and over and over again. Our people are tired of being hit with these tickets by going just slightly over the speed limit, he said. Our people are struggling. They're trying to make ends meet. And I think we need to give our people a little bit of relief by taking this ordinance back to where it was. Hear, hear.
Yeah. It's a shame we don't have representation anywhere, or at least nothing that seems like it's actually representing us in a majority anymore.
Yeah. And that's the problem. You know what? I thought we would be going maybe another 20 minutes, but I think we'll bring this show to a close within the next 10. Let me bring up this our final story. Okay, our final story.
This is your real favorite right here.
This is my feel-good story of the night, everybody. And I promise you, although I wish it was me, I had nothing to do with this. But let's bring up the story and you'll see why I say that. All right, let me run the video. Oh, this is just glorious. I love this story. This is the hero we don't deserve. No, this is the hero we didn't deserve, but the hero we need.
Chicago police are looking for the person or people who keep stealing red light cameras. This is happening on the northwest side between 4700 and 4800, the blocks of North Cicero. Police say a camera went missing sometime over Labor Day weekend, and actually earlier this year too, in June. Now, in each case, only the camera was missing.
How about that?
I cannot confirm nor deny my involvement in this situation.
I'm not
Here we go. Friday
saying a thing.
afternoon,
Whoa. Let me get her off.
We are in for sunshine.
All right, yeah. So as I said, as my camera went out, not my camera, but my light went out again, and it's going to pop up again soon. I swear to God, I had nothing to do with that. As much as I wish I did, as hopefully many of you know, I don't have two good legs. But if I did, you might see a guy in a bat suit running around the city, taking out those cameras. Alas,
yeah, what's it take to get one of those things down? I wonder.
You know what, Ed? I have thought about it. I have this is a wish fulfillment fantasy. If I were going to do something like this, how would I get away with it without getting caught? And somehow someone in the city has figured it out. So let me read some more details on this as I bring up the image for the final story. This is our feel-good story of the night. So, elusive thief has stolen red light cameras from North Side intersection 3 times, not once. How do you get away with this 3 times in the same neighborhood? Like, where are the cops? Oh, I know. They're in Lincoln Park on the beach harassing black women walking their dogs.
Yeah, well, and clearly whoever's doing this knows how to avoid the cameras before they take them down. So, because there's probably one camera watching another camera, like in 2 different directions, probably, right?
I would assume. As I've tried to figure out how someone would do something like that.
I mean, there must be a blind spot or something, where like the cameras are only watching right at the certain change of the signals, and so there may be a timing thing.
If there is something to the rhythm of the timing, whoever this person is, they figured it out. I've always thought like the best way to cover your tracks would be to get one of those really, really strong, high-powered lasers and like go to where the other camera is and like aim at the one that's looking at you, take it out first, then go to the other side and take that one out. Of course, under cover of darkness. I told you I've really thought this through.
Yeah, it'd be a great plot for like a movie of the week or something.
It would actually. That's a spark of inspiration there. I'm sorry. I'm not looking at text.
I mean, it would basically, we're talking about, some type of vigilante justice here. And, I'm not entirely against that, but I won't condone it for legal reasons.
Yeah. We don't condone it, but we understand it.
Like the same way I don't condone people looking up on the internet on how to remove a boot from your car if it gets booted. Because
what a horrible that's a horrible proposition, Ed. I can't believe.
Yeah. So
you would if
your car gets booted, I mean, there is information that is readily available to find out how to remove that without damaging your vehicle. But I can't really tell you where to get that information.
Yeah. It's probably easy to Google, but we can't tell you what search terms to use, although you could probably figure out what they are. So here's from CWB Chicago. Elusive thief has stolen red light cameras from Northside intersection 3 times. Now I love the way that they present this. A living legend is walking amongst ordinary Chicagoans, a shadowy commoner. They take decisive action while others merely complain. Guilty. They don't seek recognition or fame, probably because they'd be arrested. Will Chicago ever know their name? The name of the person who has stolen the city's cash printing red light cameras at Cicero and Lawrence 3 times. And if the Sauganash Sasquatch is ever arrested, would a jury in this town convict them? 2 cameras are posted at the intersection, one facing each direction on Cicero Avenue. Devices have been reported. Oh no, did I lose? Am I here? Okay.
You're here. You're just lights are
yeah, the light went out. I'm a little bit more moody here. I really do look like I'm in a bed.
We can still see you, Jerry.
Okay. 2 cameras are posted at the intersection, one facing in each direction on Cicero Avenue. Devices have been reported stolen from both posts, according to CPD records. The south-facing camera was targeted most recently at 3:16 a.m. on September 5th. Someone who works for the city's red light camera system, I love this, walked into the 17th Albany Park Police District Station to file a theft report 2 days later. Do you know how fucking heavy those things are? How do you steal something like that and get away without any honestly, obviously the police aren't out doing their real jobs while they're elsewhere, racially profiling people. The complainant related a red light camera on the northwestern corner had been taken, a CPD spokesperson said when we first inquired about the thefts last week. But our tipster told us cameras had been stolen from the intersection 2 other times. They sent along an internal CPD report to support their claims. 3rd occurrence at location, the report says, but the dates of the earlier incidents aren't listed in the document. We did some digging. Deep in a city data site, we discovered that one of the cameras at Cicero and Lawrence didn't generate any red light tickets from June 28th through June 30th. They're very quick to replace.
That must have been one of the times it got one missing.
Yep. And a CPD crime database shows the theft of over $500 on the street near 4800 North Cicero at 1:30 a.m. on June. Oh, those cameras cost much more than $500. Coincidence, or was this another red light camera theft? It was a red light camera theft, Officer Michelle Tannenhill confirmed Tuesday.
Now the race is on to see who gets caught first. Those egg bandits who were rolling around in this city throwing eggs at random people, or these guys who are taking down these cameras?
Okay, first of all, these guys taking down the cameras should not be apprehended. They should be protected. We should throw a parade for them. The egg throwers, I don't have a problem with. No, they should definitely be.
I want to know their motives, though. I mean, I can understand the guys who are taking down the cameras' motives, but the guys tossing those eggs, it's like, do you have targets? Are you just taking a joyride and throwing them at random people? What makes you want to ride in a truck around the city and just chuck eggs at people?
That's exactly what their motive is. They're just assholes.
I mean, sure. Okay, so the Joker mentality, only with eggs.
Right. So we've got the Joker running around town, pelting people with eggs, and we've got a Batman taking down our traffic cameras as a traffic camera vigilante. I love it.
So like Alfred would say, some people just want to watch the world get egged. Or maybe that's not the right quote there.
Close enough, Alfred. All right. So A 23-year-old male reported that he noticed the red light camera was not on line 10, and Hill said in an email yesterday. He visited the site, and the metal pole was on the ground and pulled away from the base, and the camera unit was missing. This person ripped it out of the ground. I love it.
The pole out of the ground. We must have disconnected it from the base somehow. If they're bolted in there, then you'd have to probably saw the bolts.
That's some industrial strength installation there. So obviously this person knows what they're doing, or has the tools, or I don't know, like has a strong enough vehicle to like put a chain, connect their vehicle to the chain, and has enough, what's the word? Enough,
enough torque?
Torque, yeah, torque to be able to rip it out of the ground. We haven't pinpointed the date of the, thank you, Ed, because when I have the brain fart, I can always rely on you to recover for me.
Yeah, until I'm having one.
We haven't pinpointed the date of the third theft. Our team found another time this year when one of the cameras stopped generating tickets for a few days, but we could not find a corresponding police report. It's possible that no one filed a report for the elusive incident. Now, of course, it's also possible that more than one person has taken it upon themselves to steal red light cameras from the same intersection. But is it likely? In August of 2018, CBS 2 reported that the Lawrence and Cicero red light cameras generated 6,141 tickets over the preceding year. If the cameras are still working at that pace, the city loses an average of 850 a day when one of the intersection devices goes missing. And frankly, I don't think that's enough, but at least it's a start. Area 5 detectives are investigating the thefts, but hopefully not too aggressively.
Yeah, and all this story really does is highlight how much of basically that this is a revenue generator.
Yes.
Primarily, and not much else.
Well, the thing I love about it is that in contrast to, Alderman Beale at least trying to get them to reduce that or increase that threshold with the speeding cameras, on the flip side, someone's taken out the red light cameras. So life is balance, yeah?
Yeah, as I balance my camera here.
Let me go into the live chat, because I know I love when we can involve our viewers and the live chat and the conversation. And I did have a lot of stories to read, but let's go in here and just do a little bit of catch up if there's anything anyone has to say about. Oh, also, we were going to go back to.
We were going to talk of my solutions for the property tax.
Yeah. Let's jump to that. I'll read through the comments while you share.
If I can. I don't know if they're still in the list here.
All right, so Andrew,
scroll that far back up in the Streamlabs here.
Andrew Golick has a very good point. Maybe a city worker who's fed up with the BS. It's very possible.
Tell you what, I can go and I think I've got my YouTube stream up. I can read them. Okay.
It would be quite ironic if it was a member of CPD.
Oh.
The Saguenay Sasquatch.
Who's taking the cameras down?
Yeah.
Yeah, or it could just be a former employee who was, got tired of putting them up and it's like, oh, hey, let's take them down now.
Rip them out of the ground. Yeah. All right, let's move on to some of your solutions.
Okay, solution to property tax shortage number 1. Special assessment on all Pritzker-named or Pritzker-owned properties.
That's a good start.
As we know, there's a lot of buildings in this city named after the Pritzkers. So that seems like it would be a lot there.
Definitely.
Okay. Let's see. Number 2, triple property tax on all billionaires.
I like that.
I don't know how many billionaires we got in the city, but it's a start.
However many we have, none of them are using their resources like Bruce Wayne to fight crime, and that's disappointing to me. But
okay. Solution 3, barbecue fundraiser. I mean, come on. We like the barbecue in this city. I mean, I gotta think, people might chip in for something like that. I don't know how much we could raise, but we could try. Okay, and solution 4, huge tax assessment on all the Amazon boxes.
Oh my God, that's beautiful. That's brilliant. Amazon needs to pay taxes on all of their.
I mean, they are using land for these things.
Yes, they are.
So they can be taxed for it, right?
They should be taxed for it, as we talked about in the original story.
And they wouldn't necessarily have to be the only corporation that would be assessed this way. I would think all the private shipping companies, FedEx, UPS, any DHL, any of those companies. And looks like you're resetting your camera there, Jerry.
No, I was trying to get the light back up, and for some reason it knocked out my cam link, but
that's okay.
And my monitor.
Oh, you're back. Okay.
So now I'm back. Yeah. All these.
Yeah. So corporate, any corporation that is using any kind of shipping box or receiving or collection box could be taxed. I don't know. I don't know. What else do you think we could use?
TIF funds.
Well, TIF funds. Obviously, we can go into the TIF funds and take those to at least temporarily for supplement there. But
LaSalle Street tax.
Yeah.
Right. Those are the two strongest I can think of, and they've been available for decades.
I don't know, and I don't know what's going on with like amusement tax type stuff, but theater district, that kind of stuff. How much tax are they paying now? On those giant theaters.
It's a small percentage. When I was city producing the 48-hour film project here in Chicago, we'd have our theatrical screenings at the Music Box, and I didn't realize that there was an amusement tax, but there's it's a substantial little bite. So I think that maybe increasing the amusement tax for the larger venues would definitely help.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I don't really want to tax anyone.
Yeah.
But if we have to pick somebody to be taxed, should be people who have money, right?
Should be people who can afford it.
Yeah, the people who can afford to be taxed.
Absolutely. So that brought us to our one more toast to the red light camera vigilante with our stylish Chicago corner and Cubs mugs, drinking our Friday night libations. I want to make this a tradition now, telling everybody who joins the live stream or participates and watches us on Friday nights. Fill a glass. Let's take shots together. Also, I'm gonna drop the gauntlet here for everybody watching. I'm gonna subclip this show, right? I normally subclip segments so that I can drop them on the channel throughout the week for people who didn't see the live stream. So I'm going to have a segment on the elusive thief that's stolen the red light cameras. I want everybody to share that segment when it drops next week. And I'm personally asking the red light camera, if he wants to come on the show, right? He can do it. We can
disguise his voice.
We can disguise his voice. We don't have to see him. I want this guy on the guy or girl, whoever they are. I want them on as a guest to celebrate them as a hero of the people. And it would be so cool. Wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't that be like a real score? That would be an amazing guest.
If it was the real one.
If it was the real one.
I mean, it would be a funny bit if it was somebody pretending to be that guy. But
no. I would figure out a way to find out how the person presenting themselves as the red light camera thief could authenticate. I would really want to vet them and make sure it was them and completely protect their identities, because whoever you are out there, I'm on your side. And if I had two good legs, I would be riding shotgun with you, helping you with that. So I don't think it's a thought crime yet to state that on the air, because I can't do it. But anyway,
I would be concerned for your safety though, Jerry. Just because, if you're the one who knows, you might get hassled by the man.
This is what I tell the man. Anyway, all right, guys. Look, we're almost at an hour and 40 in the show tonight. It was a lot of fun to go a little bit long tonight and talk about these stories. And Ed, I'm glad you're able to jump in, because I don't know. I think I might be a little dry hosting by myself. So it's always good to have someone to bounce this stuff off of.
No, I'm happy to have jumped in during your power outage, your brief power outage there. Glad I could contribute to the program this evening.
Definitely. And sorry, my light went out. I don't know what the control center. It's on a Bluetooth, and sometimes the light just flicks out I haven't touched anything. I think it's just the Bluetooth. I don't know. The Bluetooth signal. It's not sending a signal. Anyway, we're coming to the end of our show. Listen, everybody, we're almost to 1,000 subscribers. And you know me, I don't want to keep being a mug salesman here asking people to visit our Cafe Press store to buy a mug to help support some of the expenses that go into our live streaming. But if you don't want to buy a mug, then do this. Share the channel on your social media. If you haven't already, hit like and subscribe. And I don't know why you wouldn't have done that by now, because obviously you're joining us for all these broadcasts and you're having a good time with us. Please like and subscribe. Encourage your like-minded friends to join us.
The like button's down there, guys.
Right there.
It's down there.
And hopefully there will be some there will be some exciting things on the horizon with the new Hardlands Media Studio. I'm hoping we can put a little set in there for Chicago Corner, get out of my living room here, although I don't mind broadcasting from here. It's always easy to just quickly take a shower, shave, get ready to go on the air as opposed to drive to the station. But
but it will be nice to have the option to be in the studio. I saw the sets that they have set up in there.
Yeah,
really nice. They got a more casual set with like a sofa and stuff. You can sit down in there. I just brought in a little disco light for them in case you want to use that and get some multicolored things going on. There's all kinds of stuff that's going to be happening in the 99 Perspective Studio, and I can't wait to see what we'll see next.
I've got in my mind's eye a very simple Chicago Corner set, and hopefully and if I got to pay for it out of my own pocket, I will. Mm-hmm. But I want to really do something nice in studio. I mean, I'm actually not unhappy with broadcasting out of my apartment here because I've got a nice little background and I invested in a light when it works. But I've always had a really, I think kind of a nice idea for a very simple Chicago Corner set, and maybe we can figure out how to integrate that in that corner space over at the studio. And it'd be great to have guests come in there and just be at the base of operations with Kit and Daniel and everybody else. So Love Tagore, they say here, I've watched a lot of lefty streams and channels, and is there an and with that you like these lefty streams and channels? Hopefully you like ours too. Oh, look who just joined us. Now he comes in. Now he comes in to write the show. What did you think of tonight's show? Huh? What's going on in that little pea brain of yours?
I'm telling you, you got to get Oreo his own little laptop so he can participate in the live chat.
He's a little love bug. So what Love Tagore says, but who I really like is Jimmy, Graham, Richard, and Hardlands, and maybe you guys tonight because I had fun. Keep coming back, Love Tagore. We will make sure to give you a good time every Friday and Tuesday nights.
Yeah, it gets better. We're getting better. I think
this helps.
It does help a little. Although, if you guys don't drink, that's cool too.
That's fine.
You can still, drink your beverage of choice and let us know in the chat what you're drinking.
And honestly, guys, I don't drink a lot. I bring this out as like a prop for the show just to have fun with. Mm-hmm. But honestly, sometimes you feel like you need to take a shot when you read some of these stories. So.
Yeah, I started basically with an Arnold Palmer, which is basically lemonade and iced tea, and it got a little stronger as the show progressed, and that's just fine with me.
That's what the stories do. All right, everybody. As we showed in our first story of the evening, it's going to be a very busy weekend here in Chicago. Mexican Independence Day, Bears game, lots of festivals and festivities. If you're going to go out, just please, for the love of God, and I say that as an agnostic, let's be careful out there. Be safe, be careful, be vigilant, watch out for each other. Enjoy what's left of our summer weekends as we go into the fall. Ed, again, thanks for the save tonight coming in with the lightning that knocked out the internet.
Yeah, that was awesome. So everybody, stay home, make pizza, realdeepdish.com. is my website, and learn how to make deep dish pizza at home. And I have a few recipes for a couple other Chicago styles. But deep dish is the easiest one to do right out the bat. You just need like a cake pan or a deep dish pan, an oven that works, and just get your ingredients, get your practice down. But your first one should come out pretty decent. Even if it's not perfect, it should still taste pretty good.
And let me tell you all, this man knows his stuff in the kitchen. So check out realdeepdishpizza.com.
It's realdeepdish.com.
I'm sorry, realdeepdish.com. It's sorry.
Or you can find the website off of my Twitter account too, which is RDD Pizza.
Oh, and it's right down there. Yeah, on the Twitter.
Which is right down there. And I think the latest thing I got up there is the donut shaped deep dish pizza that I made. Oh, which was pretty good for a first try. I may try that again and see. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with the middle yet. I did a cobbler last time. I might try a different kind of cobbler, maybe a little apple pie in the middle. I've heard the chocolate lava cakes work pretty well for that type of temperature, so it should be pretty fun.
Absolutely.
Red
light camera thief. You are Chicago's Batman. With that, remember, everybody, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. Have a good weekend. Stay safe. We look forward to broadcasting to you all next week, involving you in the live chat. Ed, cheers.